Hello and welcome to the Socks on Both Feet NHL Playoff Special. I'm here with my buddy Zach, and I'm ready to tell you all about what the NHL is having for its playoffs. It's going to be the best playoffs in years, and I'm so excited to talk about it.
Woo! I'm excited to talk about it too. Sean is the hockey expert, so to speak, and I'm the NBA expert, more so to speak. So I'm excited for him to show me around. I've kept up with it decently well, but still, I'm gonna have a good amount of questions probably. So I'm excited.
It's really great because the NBA playoffs is already off to a crazy first round.
Awesome.
A lot of great series,
start.
between the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves, Celtics sweeping the Nets.
And in four are actually really close games that were really good games.
Yeah, and it's just been great basketball, and that's what, to be honest, that's what I'm expecting out of the NHL playoffs. But let's just get right into it, and we're gonna start for the NBA special. We went Eastern Conference to Western Conference. Today we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna go Western Conference to East, and for the first matchup that we have, it's the best team in the West, Colorado Avalanche, possibly the best team in the West for the last 3-4 years at least.
Yeah, a bit.
Maybe not the Golden Knights. They've always choked in either the conference finals or second round, but now it seems to be their year. I mean, they're certainly top dog. No Golden Knights after their playoff choking, not getting into the wild card, but they'll be playing
due to injury,
perhaps poor management. Perhaps they will be playing the Nashville Predators in round one. Nashville Predators are the wild card 2. The hockey playoffs works in all the brackets are through divisions, and the wild card teams play the number 1 seed in each Western Conference division, being the Central and the Pacific, and Nashville being wild card 2, ending the season with 97 points on the year. Very respectable. I think this is the first year in a very long time that nearly all teams had 100 points going into the postseason, which, for the regular season, maybe parity was a bit of a question, but for the playoffs, that means it's just going to be crazy.
Yeah, that'll mean good playoffs at least.
So as far as what I have to say about the Predators, there's not much that's going to put them over the Avalanche with crazy scorers like Mikko Rantanen being their leading scorer, Nathan MacKinnon, top 3 of a generation that has given us maybe some of the best hockey players of all time, and a team that on average scores almost 4 goals a game, has a 25% power play percentage, which in hockey is crazy, and essentially has just chewed through teams left and right for the entire season. And the Nashville Predators, a scrappy team, perhaps with some of the more legacy players around the league, having Roman Josi, possibly the Norris winner this year. I don't think he's the Norris winner, but I would be remiss to say that he has nowhere close to a chance.
Yeah, he's one of the finalists.
He's certainly one of the finalists, probably the one that's going to win it. It's the highest scoring defenseman of the year. But I like to prioritize defense for defenseman.
It's so weird that in hockey, the DPOY, defensive player of the year, is basically who's the best offensive defenseman.
Yeah, that's an issue that most people have because, all the awards are given by the Hockey Writers Association, and hockey writers are notoriously idiots. Just like in all sports, all your writers are idiots, which I don't know why they vest the trust of the awards in their hands. But, in my opinion, there's almost not much to talk about because Colorado is just going to slap Nashville all over the place. They're just going to destroy them.
I think Colorado is so scary. I think that they are just the best in any of the 4 sports concerned with parity. I think they are the best team above average in the 4, like more than the Suns. Like they are just the most well-rounded, more than the Suns or the Rams, who I would say are probably the best teams in their respective sports. Or in the MLB, see, it's hard to compare the Avalanche and the Dodgers a little bit because the Dodgers is kind of just through just buying everybody. But I mean, I just feel like I still even feel like the Avalanche are more well-rounded. I feel like in all the 4 sports, they're the most well-rounded team, period. And that's why they're really scary. Also, the Predators, they barely made it. I hate the Predators. I don't know what else I can say. They're one of my least favorite teams in the NHL. So, and I hate their mascot, Nash.
Their mascot's a furry. They're literally named the Predators. They're from Nashville.
It's really creepy. And their mascot is a furry, exactly. And they're named the Predators. They are a bunch of predators.
Yeah, I would say that Colorado, of all the teams, is the only team in this playoffs this year that just feels, when you look at the team, that they are inevitable. You know, I personally don't have them getting.
I hope they don't.
I personally, because I am a big Minnesota fan, I don't have them getting out of the second round, but that's honestly just bias. I think anybody would be remiss to say that they'd exit in the second round. I think the Suns are probably the closest team that I've seen in any other leagues that's just like, yeah, they're just going to come in and win.
Yeah.
Like, because their goal scoring is elite. Their defense, they have who I actually think is the best defenseman this year in Cale Makar. Shout out UMass alum. And their goaltending is fine.
I mean, if you look, they're like all their lines on like their third line could be a first line on some bad teams in the league.
See,
like,
that's
insane.
And the thing is, they work so well together because they have Nazem Kadri. You know, it's just this team where you look at their rosters like, oh, they have that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. You know, so. And in hockey, having a much deeper roster than most other teams that plays on a night-to-night basis that has almost equal minutes as all the other teams, you know, the depth of roster is always really important. And the Avalanche have just been building and building and building for essentially 5 years now. And 5 years ago, they were a great team, a team that you could say would be a favorite to win. And now it's just, you know, the evil empire is coming to fruition.
They've been continually relevant, but haven't really capitalized on it. So now it's showtime. And I think I hope they don't. I really hope they don't. And I'm not even totally convinced they will. But if I had to like put money on somebody winning the championship, it would be the Avalanche. If I had to put money on somebody coming out of the West, it would be the Avalanche. Even though that's the boring pick. But when we get to the East, I have a less boring pick for it.
It's certainly a safer pick. So we'll talk about how far Colorado.
Yeah, do you think it's going to be a sweep?
Oh,
I'm going to say in 5.
So when I did my bracket, I did 5 because you know Nashville. You know they have 97 points. You know they've made it. They've had to go through that gauntlet of the final end of the season. And as far as the 2 wild card 2s in the league, I mean they have a way better chance than the Caps on the other side. So. You know, I would, and they're only 1 point behind wild card 1, so you know, they have a chance to win a game.
yeah. The next series, I am super excited.
The next series,
though, it's maybe the one I'm the most excited.
So the next series in the first round is what every hardcore hockey fan is saying. This will be the round 1 series to watch between the Minnesota Wild and the St. Louis Blues.
It's like the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Memphis Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm. It kind of is. It really kind of is. But Minnesota, I think, in the West has been the most exciting team this year because Minnesota has always had this problem that even when they were nominally good, and they've always been kind of good, they've always been able to make it to the first round, but I don't think they've ever won a playoff series. But the criticism levied against Minnesota is always they play boring hockey. You know, you could get somebody to watch paint dry before you watch an older Minnesota Wild game. And sometimes they had bruisers, sometimes they had extra Y, but they never had a star player like they do now with Kirill Kaprizov. Essentially the Ovechkin 2. Last year he signed a $9 million contract that people didn't even know he was going to sign. People thought he was going to go back to the KHL for a year during the COVID seasons. And it turns out he came back, and now with him, along with Marc-Andre Fleury, which they traded from the Blackhawks.
I know, former Blackhawk.
Mm-hmm. They just seem like I personally in the Western Conference, if you want to root for the good guy team, you should root for Minnesota. Is the way that I think about it. And the St. Louis
I think you have a
Blues.
little bias in saying that, Sean. Your
Well,
Minnesota
well,
is
who else
your
are you gonna go
second
for? The
favorite
Kings?
team.
Who else is gonna be the
Yeah,
Kings?
I
Like,
mean,
come
I
on.
wouldn't be if they didn't have that. So the Minnesota pick they traded to the Blackhawks for Marc-Andre Fleury was a second round pick, and it gets upgraded to a first round pick if they make it to the Western Conference Finals. So I'm rooting for Minnesota. But if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't be rooting for Minnesota. I don't know who I'd be rooting for in the West. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, yeah, maybe I would be rooting for Minnesota.
You know, they just seem like a wholesome team. You know, it's a team that has, you know, a lot of players that were previously written off. Jordan Greenway is one such player. You know, they have Marcus Foligno, possibly the last of a dying breed of enforcers in the NHL. A man
respect.
that if you saw him in a dark alley, you'd kill yourself. And they're going up against the St. Louis Blues team, which is definitely not to the same level as they were when they won the Cup a few years ago against the Bruins.
Which makes sense.
Still with many core pieces of that team, though. They've lost some specific players like Pietrangelo, who went to the Golden Knights. But they've also picked up Torrey Krug from the Bruins after they won. You know, and
Turncoat,
exactly. Very, very touchy subject in Boston that he immediately got. And listen, we'll talk about this another time. All right, it's a very touchy subject.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
But you know, a St. Louis Blues team which has been battered by injuries. They've lost Jordan Binnington, possibly the most. I don't understand how you can love him. He's the most hateful goalie in the league. He's not even a rat. He's just a whiny baby.
It's good because he's the first goalie pest. And you've respected him for that. How can you look at a guy that it makes me, when he's in goal, I want to root for the Blues because, again, look, I don't know anything about his personal life, so I want to say that I know oftentimes sometimes people that are are nasty on the ice are nasty in real life. So if he is, I don't know about that, and I'd like to keep it that way, honestly, because it's not going to change his status or anything.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I definitely respect that he is a goalie pest, but he's
exactly
also...
when you see the stuff of him swinging his goalie stick like a foot in front of these guys' faces,
it's like a battle axe. Too.
When he skates out of his goal to yell at and scream at the other goaltender and stuff, how do you not love this guy? I mean, it's just unique. He's the only goalie that carries himself like that, and that's why I love him.
He is incredibly unique as both a goalie and a player.
Yeah, he's very unique.
But you know, with Ryan O'Reilly, possibly the most likable person on the Blues, being their captain and still leading this team, which again still has many pieces from that other Stanley Cup final. I don't think that they have a chance against Minnesota. But both of these teams are hard-nosed. We're going to take the game to you, and just, you know, every game in this series is going to be a barn burner. I can't imagine any games in the series not being decided in the third period, which is why they seem so excited. They're fast teams. They're hard-playing teams. Marcus Foligno, though, has been injured in a kind of brutal play from the Colorado Avalanche in one of their final games of the season. Big knee-on-knee contact from an Avalanche player, but I think that Minnesota takes this series personally.
Yeah,
I can't really see, especially with Marc-Andre Fleury in that. I think that just kind of puts them over the top. I think that's really, if they had not received Marc-Andre Fleury, I think they would have no chance later on. Yeah, so I think Minnesota takes this. Hopefully,
I think either way it's in 6, whoever wins. But I think Minnesota will win. But I think if the Blues win, it'll be in 6 as well.
Agreed. Anyway, now to the Pacific Division. Calgary Flames versus the Dallas Stars. This is an interesting matchup for me because I've been watching the Dallas Stars this whole season, and I think they're a team with a bit of soul. You know, they have a lot of players who this is kind of their last run. Joe Pavelski being their captain and main of that group, where, you know, if they don't get it this year, I can't really see them really making it at all. They also have a very highly rated defensive player coming up, Miro Heiskanen,
Yeah.
who has I think he's so wholesome and so much fun to watch. He's a goal scorer and he's great on defense, very similar to Cale Makar in my opinion. But they're going up against a Calgary team, which since the beginning of the season I have said is,
Ooh.
dude, they're like the bad guys. They're like
I
the
don't
happy
like 'em.
bad guys. They're just the Calgary Flames are a pest team. They're a pest forward team. Their best player Matthew Tkachuk, who has actually not confirmed that he will be re-signing with the Calgary Flames after this year.
Well, maybe they can gain some points in my book then. Because I hate Tkachuk or Tkachuk.
Tkachuk.
Yeah, Tkachuk. I hate him. I really do. And I also hate the Calgary Flames. They are nasty motherfuckers, and not in a fun way. Like I like Bennington, or I like Marchand a lot. I really do. He's one of my favorite players, and because that's a fun type of pest. They're just nasty motherfuckers. I don't like.
Yeah, personally, and
they traded away, they released. Well, no, they gave them up to an expansion team. Their
longtime captain.
Yeah, their
Mark
captain,
Giordano,
their face of the franchise is gone now, and now they're good.
Which, I mean, that's probably because Mark Giordano is a just okay player who's been traded now from the Kraken to the Leafs, which continues a long storied tradition of the Leafs getting an older player who's originally from Toronto, who is not in their prime years anymore, and they think that's going to solve their problems. But that's for when we get to the Eastern Conference. But I think Calgary is just gonna take this one. I originally, before the playoffs were decided, I said, if Dallas gets into the playoffs, I think they can win a couple games. But now they're playing Calgary. I don't know. Calgary, I assume they're kind of like Colorado. They have a lot of players who, certainly Calgary is the toughest team in the league.
Yeah, I think we're on sweep watch with this one.
I agree.
But I'm going to say 5. I think it's really hard to sweep a team.
Yeah, Calgary, if anybody picks a fight with Calgary, they'll win the fight. If anybody tries to outscore Calgary, they'll outscore them. If anybody tries to, have a better goaltending tandem. At the beginning of the season, Calgary's goaltending tandem was the best in the league with 2 people who were backups before. One being a Providence Bruins goalie who played Dan Darth Vladar, who only played maybe like 8 games in the season before, and he won most of them for the Bruins, but he went to Calgary, and out of their first 13 games, they won 11 of them and had like an average goals against of like 1 in every game. So Calgary probably sweeping Dallas. And then the series that makes me most conflicted, Edmonton versus the LA Kings. The LA Kings, nobody thought that they'd be in the playoffs this year. Nobody thought that this is the most surprising. I think
I'm
of
happy
all the playoffs.
for them. They're not for them.
And they're not even a wild card.
I know. Good for them.
And they are also, like the Dallas Stars, a team that, while has a large young core coming up, and I'm very excited to be watching the LA Kings young core coming up.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited. I really like Quentin Byfield.
Yeah, Quentin Byfield, Athanasiou, a lot of great players, but the Kings probably 2 most for the last 15 years spiritually centering players of Ants Kopitar, Dustin Brown, and Drew Doughty's career is going to be over next year. Whether or not he retires, he's just going to be bad. But the problem is with the Edmonton Oilers, who have absolutely crushed the end of their season. They have, I think, only dropped 2 of their last 15 games. They've been just annihilating teams after their very contentious picking up of Evander Kane, known gambler and
man, I don't like Evander Kane. I want to be clear. I don't want to get in trouble or anything because my first instinct was going to say I love Evander Kane. I don't like him, but I enjoy following Evander Kane a lot. I understand he's a terrible person and, he shouldn't have a platform, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Man, I mean, come on, it's so fun. Like when he had that brawl, and there was 5 guys on the other team versus just him, and they were like, you saw there was 5 of us. There was just one of him. His teammates don't even want to help him. His teammates don't even want to help him. And then he's like, and then his quote is just like, it took 5 of them, and they couldn't even bring me down. He doesn't care, man. He's a man out on his own terms. He is living life by his own terms.
He has certainly ascended to a different plane of heel.
Maybe now we're talking about this. I feel maybe I should have said anything positive about him, but I mean, he's such an interesting presence on the
game
ice.
And the player.
He's a really
for the game and the player, he does inject a certain amount of holy shit watching him on the ice. And on an Edmonton team with Connor McDavid, who has just now won the Hart Trophy, which is the Art Ross Trophy, which is for the most points in an NHL season for the 4th season in a row. And Leon Draisaitl, the Edmonton Oilers look like they're going to be winning a playoff series, which previously in this season, everybody thought they were going to bum out and maybe not even make playoffs.
Fucking smacked in the second series. And just demolished. Man, I low-key want Edmonton to lose this series so they break up that team. I honestly, nobody is going to like this. I think that understands the comparison, maybe. I honestly think of the Oilers as the Utah Jazz of hockey. I think of that like the Utah Jazz were this team. They were the 1 seed in basketball. They were all this good stuff. And they have 2 perpetual all-stars, 2 great players. But their just whole situation is so poorly constructed and so fucked up that they can never get anywhere in the playoffs. And they always embarrassingly get beaten. And there's no way they can win in just on paper. Like if you were playing a franchise mode, maybe they could do well just because of the overalls of some of the guys, but it's not like actually a well-constructed team. So I don't think it will happen. I do not think it'll happen, but I low-key want the Kings to win that series somehow, so they just blow it up. Like get rid of like over half their salary cap is in 3 guys. Or is it 4 guys? It's in 4 guys. And it's in 3 or 4 guys over half their salary cap. And that's ridiculous with how many people are on a roster in hockey. Like you need to feel that you need to have at least 22 people on a playing cap confined roster. So only having 2 to 3 people take up $30 million, much like the Leafs, is Canadian hubris essentially. Yeah, and it's dumb.
And Canadians will turn around and be like, "Why haven't we won a cup in 25 years?" And it's just like, well, maybe you need to manage your teams not like a jackass.
I want them to rebuild and send Draisaitl somewhere else.
So
I want him to be like the face of some other team.
Yeah, and he definitely could. So could McDavid. And
I think they'll hang on to him forever, though.
I think McDavid's probably going to be an Oiler forever. I think he's going to get the Gretzky treatment at the end of his career, and he's have to go somewhere else to win a cup. But after, if Calgary and Edmonton get out of the first round, and we have a second round Battle of Alberta. For those who don't know, the Battle of Alberta is perhaps the most grudge match rivalry in the NHL. Every game is spotted. It's spotlighted with fights, big hits, sometimes injuries, and incredible goals from 2 teams this year that are just excellent. The 1 seed and the 2 seed in the Pacific, which sucks for the Kings if they go down. But honestly, I have them going down in 5 because.
Yeah,
if Edmonton,
I also put them on sweep watch, to be honest.
If Edmonton does lose, though, and that is a real possibility because of Edmonton's mental weakness of not being able to get it to hold it down in the playoffs, they have to change something. It's not whether or not they want to break it up, but if they get bounced in the first round this year, I mean, they'll have no choice. I mean, the entire city of Edmonton, which is built around their hockey team and oil, will riot. They'll go insane. I don't understand how they'd be able to get through it. But anyway, that's the Western Conference with many great matchups. Now for the East, which is just stacked. Just stacked.
Although I think
like
the team
always
from the West will win
the top teams in the West, I would say.
Actually, that's not true. Just the Avalanche, I think.
The Avalanche being the top team in the West could beat probably most Eastern Conference teams. However, almost every Eastern Conference team could beat the majority of Western
Yeah,
Conference teams.
yes,
And
I agree.
that's just the kind of the way it
That's
works.
how it was in the
And
NBA also. Same with the East and West breakdown like that.
and that's just the way that it's always been in hockey, almost back to the founding of the combined league NHL. But let's start with the overall favorite, just like we did in the West, which is the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers, in my opinion, are the best team this year. They are a team with almost 4 team captains that they've traded for throughout the year. So they have the playoff veterancy. They have the lowest goals against, besides the Boston Bruins. They have the highest percentage goals for, besides the Boston Bruins. But the problem is that even more so than Colorado, every single line that the Florida Panthers is just stacked, and it's the thing is, it's not like the Lightning, where there are these players that, throughout their careers have just been magic makers, guys who can go into a game and say, fuck it, we're winning tonight. Florida is the technically perfect team. They are optimized, is the way I like to talk about the Florida Panthers. They are an optimized team with excellent goaltending, excellent goal scoring, and a solid defensive core. And they're going up against the Washington Capitals.
It's pretty impressive that Florida has done this stuff with an interim head coach for 80% of the season. Also,
that is true. Yes, that is also equally true.
It's also too bad, although they did have the most fun fan interaction of the whole year. Yeah. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Kodak Black.
Oh, yeah, it was Kodak Black.
Yeah. That was so funny. You should look it up if you don't know what I'm referring to. It's really funny. But they have no fans, and it's too bad that it's such it's the Tampa Bay Rays kind of. It's just like, how are you going to have the best team, just have no fans? So if you live in the greater Miami-Dade metro area,
surprise, you have a hockey team.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Believe it or not. Yeah, I mean, hopefully if they win the cup this year, they can take the money that they make from winning the cup and move closer
and
to
turn
Miami.
a profit for the first time in their history.
Yeah, and bring back their old logo as well. But they're playing the Washington Capitals, who has Alexander Ovechkin, greatest goal scorer of all time. I will finally concede that point after, in his 38th year on this earth, has his 11th 50-goal season in the NHL. Just incredible. However, it is a team piloted by one man who's injured. And he's injured. Alex Ovechkin's injured. He's injured.
Oh, how long is he going to be out?
I think he's going to be ready for playoffs, but he got an injury just before this, so he's going to be creaky a little bit. And he did have some very funny videos the other day at Madison Square Garden, taunting Rangers fans that were booing him. If you haven't seen those videos, I would definitely look them up. But the Caps, they just don't have the stuff. They're wild card 2. They had 100 points. But, you can only beat down on shitty, Buffalo and Red Wings teams for so long.
I have a bold prediction here. I think the Caps are going to come out, punch the Florida Panthers in the face, and I think they're going to get 2 wins, actually. I think they are going to get 2 wins, and it's going to be in 6. Because I think the Florida Panthers are going to have to refocus a little bit. I think they're going into it pretty cocky, pretty confident. They have a lot of guys. They don't have... Look, the Caps have way more tough playoff experience than the Panthers. And also, like I said, it's an interim head coach, which I think will do well in the end and isn't going to mess them up in the end. But I think at the start, that could definitely deal for him adjusting a little bit. So I think the Caps are going to get two wins, and one will be in Florida.
Yeah. So as a fan, I actually agree very much. I agree that the Caps are going to come out and give Florida a bloody nose, but then Florida is going to chop off all their limbs and throw them into the river. But the way to beat the Caps, as a fan of a team that beat the Caps last year and someone who works for the Caps, is all you have to do is outlast them and tire them out.
Because they're so old.
They're the oldest team in the league. I think their average age is 29. Their coach is Peter Laviolette is so against playing the kids, as a lot of fans of the league like to say. And I just can't see the Caps getting through this first round. I think
no chance.
So for a fan vote of who thought who will win for the first round, the highest average was the Avalanche winning 98% of the fan vote, opposed to the Predators with 2%. And the second is the Panthers with 68% and the Caps with 4%. So
96%.
Even Caps fans don't believe in the Capitals. So you can expect them to be bowing out really quick. I think this is the most one-way series that's going to be happening.
Really? Do you think it's going to be a sweep?
No. That's the other thing though. There is no way in hell that the Caps are getting swept.
Yeah, exactly. They have way too much. That's where their veterancy comes in. Like, they aren't going to win a series from it, but I think they'll for sure steal a game or two games.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's just no way they get swept. That's one thing I'll say for the Caps. Because here's the thing is that, you know, I thought they might play the Rangers, and if they were playing the Rangers, I actually thought the Caps would win, because you can't send Alexander Ovechkin out to face the same goalie 4 games in a row and not expect him to score 8 goals in that 5th game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the Panthers have a really good advantage in goalkeeping.
Yeah, that's true. They have 3 good goalies opposed to the Rangers, who just had 1. But the next series in the division is Toronto versus Tampa. This is
I'm so hyped for this series, dude.
Every aspect of this series has hockey fans going crazy because nobody knows it's going to happen. Because Toronto possibly.
Oh, I know what's going to happen.
I know what's going to happen too.
Yeah, so it's no question for me.
But Toronto has, besides Connor McDavid, the second greatest player in the NHL right now, in Austin Matthews, and a massive lineup. And Toronto always gets, before the playoffs, all these Canadians from Toronto going, yeah, I just want to play for the Leafs, bring home a cup, because the Leafs have not won a cup since 1957.
And they are the Yankees they have 27 cups on their name. They are the Yankees. Or wait, is it 27? It's something like that. It's in the 20s.
The Canadians have 27. The Toronto has
fact check me.
Toronto still's got a lot.
But anyway, they are. But no, they're the most.
But they're the Yankees without the cups is what they are. They're the Yankees they're the Yankees of the NHL without the cups is really their prestige, because, you know, essentially before in the early days of the NHL, I think they still actually might have a lot, because in the early days of the NHL,
the Canadians have 23, the Leafs have 13. Look,
which
I gotta be
13
honest,
cups is insane.
I think this is my most bold sports prediction. I've actually never even said this out loud, even to you.
Whoa.
I think, I'm doing this here, and this is about 3 of the 4 sports. Everyone other than football, I think, needs a reset on the cups. Like, football does the Super Bowl era and all the national football championships, which the Bears won a ton of, were erased from history, basically. I think all these other sports need to do that. I think the NBA, MLB, and NHL need to kind of reset. I think that's,
but I know that's fair to a certain point.
Just because 23 cups, nobody's ever gonna compete to that. It's never gonna, and that's from a different era. Like, also, the Lakers.
It's from an era where there were only 6 teams until the 50s.
Exactly, and only the Lakers and the Celtics each having 17 NBA championships. It's because for 3 decades. You know, there was a decade where the Celtics won, or 2 decades, Celtics won 11 championships in 13 years, because they were the only ones paying their players, basically. Yeah. I mean, so I think a lot of them need to reset a little bit.
I think that's a valid point.
Anyway, the Toronto Maple Leafs have a high view of themselves.
Yes, they see themselves as the heroes of Canada.
Yeah.
However, everybody else in Canada sees them as the greatest villains of all time.
Yeah.
But they're going to go against a Lightning team, which has won the last 2 years, trying to three-peat. And the dangerous part about the Lightning is that every year that they've won, except for their first year, was absolutely just everybody's like, oh, maybe this is the year the Lightning don't get it done. Maybe this is the year, because they don't care about the regular season, because they don't have to, because they're a playoff winning team, and their greatest strength is they just turn it on and win. So,
but Sean, the Lightning had their worst regular season they've had in a bit. Oh my gosh, Sean, the Maple Leafs finished ahead of the Lightning in the standings. Oh my gosh, Sean, the Lightning are faltering this year. Does not matter.
Who gives a fuck?
The Lightning
Says who?
Absolutely demolish
Yeah, because
the Leafs. I hope it's a sweep, low key. I don't like the Lightning, but I just think I want the Leafs to change their culture too, like I want the Oilers to.
Yeah, the especially in hockey, just because of the way the game is played. If you are a team that can just turn it on and win, hockey is a game where you can, much like football in some instances, where you can just will yourself to victory. You can just, if you're a team that can impose your will on the other team, there's no chance of a loss. And plus, Toronto has not won a playoff series since the early 90s.
Yeah.
And they have been the laughing stock of the league for a team that has perhaps the most, for a team that is the most profitable team in the league as well, with the most fans in the Canadian capital of hockey.
I gotta say, I feel like that team, whenever I see anything about them for years now, including when they had a fucking gimme of the COVID season and got to be in the easiest division in hockey history. They in watching that documentary, All or Nothing, about them that year, they don't even believe in themselves once it comes time to the playoff. And you can see that, like, watching them at the Toronto Raptors courtside, which granted, they were there for the Raptors to get eliminated. But even aside from that, like when the Raptors were even winning that, I don't know, everything I saw of Austin Matthews in them, they look scared. And I'm like, this isn't even your playoff game, bro.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's because they're watching the Raptors get eliminated, and it's like, oh shit,
it's all on us now.
It's all on us.
And they know it. Like I think the Lightning are just a really bad matchup for them, because that is a team. Because the Lightning are a team that will. I'm just saying mentally, it's a bad matchup. I don't know hockey wise if it is, but. Because that's a team that
it's a great matchup hockey wise as well. I would say it's an even matchup.
That's a team, the Lightning, every time I've watched any of them in the playoffs last year, they will exploit mental weaknesses like on the Islanders. And they will just kind of find what makes you they break down teams' confidences.
Yeah.
And especially over a 7-game series. They play really well over a series. And that's why I think they've won so much. And in the playoffs. And the Leafs are a team that can have their confidence easily broken. I think.
It's a series between a perennial choker and a perennial winner.
Yeah.
So Tampa Bay.
I'm gonna say in 6.
Yeah, I was also gonna say in 6. And now to the the tough one, which is Carolina versus the Boston Bruins, which I was very afraid of this matchup until Carolina's goaltender got injured, Freddie Anderson, which they got from the Leafs as well. But during the regular season, Boston were swept in their season series to the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina Hurricanes, burgeoning worst fan base in the league, just annoying fans, great social media, great team presence, awesome coach, crazy team, tough team, terrible fans. Everybody says it. Caps fans say it, who have their own mini rivalry with Carolina. Bruins fans say it, with their own mini rivalry with Carolina. Talk to any fan. Carolina fans are just annoying. Cool jerseys, which I think. Do you not like the storm flag jerseys? I thought that you didn't like the black ones with the
that sounds like
two flag
a
warning.
Nazi. I mean the storm flag. Oh my gosh, what are we talking about? When you just did you not? Yeah, and their colors are red. I literally Google storm flag, and I'm not getting. Oh man, I think I found them. Yeah, I did found them. No, those are fucking dumb. This is my first time seeing them, but those look so stupid. I mean, the jersey itself is really cool, but the logo is so dumb.
It's because it's a 2 flag warning for a hurricane.
I understand. I don't care. It looks bad. I don't know what you want. I get it. Oh, it's 2 flags on a stick. Yeah, that's cool. I don't care. It still doesn't look great.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be honest. I'm very biased. I think the Bruins are gonna absolutely kill them.
I don't think so.
Because and by kill them I mean go to game 7 and make me have a heart attack.
That's what I think as well.
But the Bruins this season have statistically been one of the best teams, but in their play in games they have had a lot of choke moments.
They've been slumping lately as well.
A little bit of slumping lately. They finished out the season with I think 3 wins. Or no, they lost their last game, but before that, they won a couple games. They've lost their in-season series to Carolina.
How much do you know?
It was 4 games. They lost 4 games to Carolina. Or
How many did they win?
of their, they got swept. They got swept in their
Oh
in-season
man,
series.
bro. I was already thinking Carolina was going to win this series, and I was having to be nice about that. I didn't know. I was going to say win in Game 7, but I'm rooting for the Bruins for you. I don't want the Bruins to make the Stanley Cup. I've made this clear to Sean, but I hope they can, because I want him to have maximum happiness without the Bruins getting to the Stanley Cup. I hope they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and lose in a hard-fought Game 7 or Game 6. Maybe that's less painful. Lose in a hard-fought Game 6. But I think that they are going to lose to the Hurricanes. In the first week of the season, Sean texted me, I think the Carolina Hurricanes might never lose a game this season. And now he's playing against them in having to take Copio.
Well, they're about to lose 4 games in the playoffs. So
well, there we go. They will at some point.
Yeah, but so the Bruins, for the statistician looking to find a team in this playoffs, the Bruins are your team because they have been the highest in Corsi, which is a stat in hockey, which it calculates the amount of shots on target on net. They are the highest in expected goals averaged. They're the lowest in, I guess they have the lowest average goals against, and they also have the best forward line in the league in all stats, being DeBrusk, Bergeron, and Marchand. And for the Bruins, this is a personal playoffs because this may be the last playoff that Patrice Bergeron plays with the Bruins. And after losing captain Zdeno Chara 2 years ago, first to the Caps and then this year to the Islanders, which has been a very heartwarming tour for Chara, because he went to the Caps because he wanted to play with Ovi, and then he went to the Islanders because they drafted him. And he's essentially just a big man just wanting to play hockey with teams that he likes. But I think the Bruins can win specifically because Freddie Anderson has been injured. If he was not injured, I would say that they would lose.
Is there any timeline? I was trying to Google it, and I couldn't find
I'm not totally sure. Because there has not been a whole lot of information. I think he's rehabbed enough, and I think he will play.
Yeah, because I saw something from 2 weeks ago saying he would be reevaluated in a week, but I haven't been able to find it.
Exactly. They just kind of they're a little in the dark, essentially, and everybody's a little in the dark of what Freddie Anderson's condition is. And Freddie Anderson, after being injured and also being on the Leafs, and thus being on the Leafs being a perennial choker, I think the Bruins have a chance. I think they have a good chance. Before, I would say they had a chance as well, but and once they get at one, if the Bruins can get past Carolina, what I will say is whoever wins this first round, Carolina or Boston, they will beat the Rangers or Pittsburgh, which is the final matchup of the Eastern Conference.
Oh, I agree.
They're essentially this is the second round matchup of the Metro Division bracket.
Well, yeah. Do you want to talk about Rangers and Pittsburgh then?
Yeah, so I think Rangers and Pittsburgh, to be honest, is not going to be the most fun.
It's two teams that are happy to be there.
Yes, it is two teams that didn't think they'd be here at the beginning of the season and both who have very critical weaknesses. One being goaltending and the other being secondary scoring. The Rangers have Chris Kreider, who has had a absolute breakout season, even though he's a vet, and who I drafted first in my fantasy hockey league because I knew he would be an absolute stud this year. And the Vezina, the incoming Vezina winner, Igor Shesterkin, the year after, 2 years after Lundqvist retired, their old goaltender that essentially dragged their corpse across the finish line many times in the last 20 years, and now they have another. A week ago, I saw on NHL Network, not what does Igor Shesterkin have to do to win the Vezina, what must he do to not win it? He's such a lock and the best goalie this year, but his team is still young. He doesn't have everybody in front of him playing at their best, even though they're the 2 seed. And Pittsburgh is a team, much like the Bruins, who is about to see a lot of their stars kind of walk out the door. So they're kind of trying to get it done right now. And I would say this is the series that is the most interesting of this playoffs. Not necessarily the best series to watch, but it will be interesting to see who wins.
I think the most interesting is still Minnesota Wild versus St. Louis Blues for me.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this series is actually going to be really forgettable. I hate to say.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but it will be
meaningless.
forgettable. Yeah,
I think it's going to be because I think it's just going to be. I hate to do another one, but I think it's just going to be 6 games. I'm going to say the Penguins, just because, like you were saying, the Rangers are very young, and kind of inexperienced and inconsistent, and the Penguins are not that. Any of those things. So I'm going to say the Penguins, but Rangers could win it. I hope it goes to Game 7. I think there's a possibility it is very exciting, but I think it's also a possibility it's very just kind of whatever.
Yeah, personally, I guess I'd like the Penguins to win because assuming that the Bruins win, I'd love to see Bergeron and Crosby go up against.
That would be awesome.
Not that I think it's going to be one last time, but possibly one last time, because certainly if either of those teams win the cup, it will be the last time, because I think if the Bruins win the cup, Bergeron will retire. If the Penguins win the cup, the Sidney Crosby will retire. But it's just going to be a whatever series. So, but yeah, I'll take the Penguins in 6. Yeah, why not?
All right. So for second round matchups, I think basically down the road, what I have. I'll just go through my bracket real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm going to have the Avalanche and the Wild going against each other in the second round.
Yep.
I really hope the Wild win. I don't love the Wild, but I hope they win so the Blackhawks can get that as a first round pick. And the Avalanche are kind of boring, but I think the Avalanche are going to win that. Calgary versus Edmonton. Calgary's going to smash Edmonton, hopefully smash them so bad they break up the team. Then Calgary is going to be on all this hot shit. Calgary is going to be so confident. Tkachuk is going to be sitting out there. He's going to be sitting out there, and he's going to be all he's going to think he's new Austin Matthews, okay? And he's just going to get demolished by Nathan McKinnon. They are going to get obliterated. I'm telling you, Calgary is just going to look like fools. They'll win some games. They're going to look like fools, though. The games they win are going to be close wins.
Fools. Okay.
The games they win are going to be close wins. And the games they lose, there's going to be at least one blowout, like just total blowout loss in that finals, because the Avalanche are just going to pick them apart. Avalanche going to the finals. In the East, Panthers versus Lightning.
Battle of Florida, a rematch of last year.
Rematch of last year.
Actually, it's a rematch because they also played them the year before as well.
Yeah, it's an exciting matchup. Last year, I was really excited about it in the playoffs also. And I'm going to say Florida Panthers, most exciting, most like they've jumped from, they've made like the most exciting leap, I feel, of any team this year. Yes. And it's not their year. The Lightning are going to beat them up. The Lightning are going to beat them up. I think it might go to 7 games, honestly. But I think the Lightning are going to win just because, like I was saying, they're pretty good historically at exploiting weaknesses. I think over 7-game series. I just think a 7-game series really benefits the Lightning. I think if it was a 5 or 3-game series, the Lightning would lose. But I think in the 7-game series, that really benefits the Lightning. And they're going to win, I think, in 6 or 7 games. And then I think I'll just say, because I know you're going to have the Bruins, I'm pretty neutral on it in reality. I'm going to say the Hurricanes win, though. And then I'll say Hurricanes-Penguins. Hurricanes wins that pretty easily, maybe 5 games. And then I'm going to say, I know this is the worst with such an exciting playoffs. This is the worst Stanley Cup possible. I'm going to say the Tampa Bay Lightning beat the Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals, and it's Avalanche Lightning. And man, I know that's like a nightmare scenario.
Jeez,
I was about to say the Avalanche win then. I kind of think the Lightning might win then, to be honest. I might just be traumatized based off the last 2 years, I think the Lightning might win.
If the Lightning make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, they will win. If the Lightning make it to the Conference Finals, they will win the Stanley Cup. I think that the problem with Florida is that while the Lightning are good at finding weaknesses, I think Florida is the first team in a long time that I look at them and I'm like, they don't have a weakness. I actually don't. And if they do, I don't know what it is. So it's definitely an interesting bracket. I'll give you that. If the Lightning make it far, they will definitely win. And how many goals do you think they're going to be scored in this bracket?
Oh, dude, I have no idea.
We'll just make a guess.
I'm not good with that goal prediction, to be honest.
Just
I think it's going to
final.
be relatively low goal scoring, actually, playoff overall.
Really?
In the playoffs as a whole.
All right.
Because I think teams are going to be very focused on, because every team has, well, especially when we get to the later rounds out of the first round, every team has really good goal scoring options, and like even more than I feel like in normal playoffs. And they also have pretty good goalies all around the block. But I think teams are going to be so focused. Some of these good teams that maybe would be more okay to let up a few goals, like the Avalanche, I think they're going to be so honed in on just locking down defensively. I think everybody is going to be more focused on playing defense this year than in past playoffs.
Personally, I love defensive hockey, so I'm hoping for that. But anyway, that's been the.
Oh wait, what do you think?
What do I think? Oh, what do you care what I think?
I give mine as I'm the opening card. You're the main event here.
So for me personally, we were completely almost agreed on every second round matchup except for the Bruins. I think the Bruins are going to beat Carolina. But for Colorado, Minnesota, I think Minnesota wins. I just think it's their year. I think Colorado is the Leafs of the Leafs of the West. I think they're also chokers. They've also made a very big heel turn this year, so I'm ready to watch Colorado lose. Nathan MacKinnon, maybe the evilest of the 2005 generation. Then Calgary, Edmonton. Completely agree. Calgary's just going to slap Edmonton down. Edmonton, I think they get into the second round easy. Yeah. But Calgary's just going to...
They're going to have too much confidence.
Milan Lucic is just going to come up and just beat the shit out of Connor McDavid, literally. And then on the other side, I think Florida Panthers beat the Lightning, because I think I have the Florida Panthers winning it all. I think that...
Way to bury the lead.
Yeah, well, listen, I want to be clear, is that if you are a hockey fan this year, the Florida Panthers are the favorite. There is no question that they are the favorite. The Colorado Avalanche are great, but they're in the worst conference. The Panthers should be your favorite, and if they're not your favorite, in a betting sense, I say, not as a fan, but in a betting sense, they should be your favorite.
The Vegas favorite is Colorado. And then Florida. Colorado is 350. Florida is 550. And then Calgary 800. Wow. And then the Leafs 900. That's bullshit. Wow. And then the Lightning 1100.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
And then the Hurricanes 1200.
That's a little whack. Hurricanes 1200. Okay.
That's based off DraftKings.
Yeah. But I would say Florida takes the Lightning. I think it's just their time. Again, like Minnesota, it's just their time. They have a great team. You know, a depth team. They got Claude Giroux. They got all these other captains they've gotten from other teams. They have so many players like Dallas and like the Kings. They have players that need to win this cup, or else it might be their last. But they're great players. So I think Florida takes that one. I think the Boston's going to beat Carolina, specifically because Freddie Anderson's injured.
Yeah.
And like I said, if Boston makes it out, they beat Pittsburgh or the Rangers. It doesn't really matter. Then if it's Boston and Florida in the conference finals, I think Florida wins, beats Boston. I don't think Boston can hang with the Florida team that deep. Minnesota, Calgary.
Yeah, I mean, neither of those teams feel like a Stanley Cup. Yeah, the East is going to win, I feel like, against either of those teams.
Yeah, the East is going to win, in my opinion. I always think the East is going to win.
I think the Avalanche is the only one that really, from the West, could win the Cup.
If the Avalanche is in the Cup, they're the only ones from the West that I'm like, ooh. That's.
And I think they will if they go up against anyone other than the Lightning, to be honest. I think they'll beat the Panthers or the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I will agree with that, though. I agree with that. I think the Lightning have a certain, je ne sais quoi, to be a Canadiens fan, of an ability to just, beat anybody.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say Minnesota to be fun.
That is so fun. That is really fun. And it's very Minnesota, the state, their sports, to lose in the finals. So.
And plus, the Wild have the onus that the Timberwolves just put up a great series, and they need revenge. They need to prove to the people of Minneapolis and St. Paul that a team from Minnesota can finally get it done.
Exactly.
But they are going to lose the Panthers, though, in the Stanley Cup Finals.
All right.
But yeah, So that's been the NHL playoffs, and I really hope that everybody watches. If you want to leave us any comments or likes or give us any shout outs, you can find us at Sox Podcast on Twitter. Our email is socks on both feet at gmail.com. If you want to send us anything, any suggestions for shows, anything that you'd like to say. And yeah, thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you.